The Girl Who Sat by the Window. Let me tell you a story. Not about dramatic confessions, not about love at first sight, but about the kind of love that grows quietly, like sunlight creeping across a classroom floor. It was autumn in London. The leaves outside Harrington College had turned gold and amber. Students rushed through the corridors, their laughter echoed against old brick walls. And every morning, in room 204, by the large window overlooking the courtyard, sat a girl named Clara Whitmore. Clara always chose the same seat, last row, near the window. She liked watching the world more than being part of it. She'd tuck a loose strand of chestnut hair behind her ear, open her leather-bound notebook, and disappear into her sketches. She didn't talk much, but she observed everything. Now, 3 weeks into the semester, someone new walked into that classroom. His name was Oliver Hayes. Tall, slightly awkward, with a soft smile that looked like it had secrets behind it. He was late on his first day. The professor sighed and pointed toward the only empty seat left, right next to Clara. He hesitated. She didn't look up. He sat down anyway. For the first 10 minutes there was silence. Then slowly, he leaned slightly closer. "Do you always sit here?" he whispered. Clara didn't answer. But she slid her notebook slightly away so he could see the lecture notes. That was their first conversation. Not with words, but with kindness. Days turned into weeks. Oliver began arriving early. Clara still pretended not to notice, but she stopped wearing her headphones before class started. He started bringing 2 coffees. She never asked for one. He never said it was for her. Yet every morning, a cup would quietly appear beside her notebook, and every morning, she'd take it. Without a word. One afternoon, rain poured heavily over London. The campus was nearly empty. Clara remained seated by the window, watching raindrops race down the glass. Oliver gathered his courage. "Why do you always sit here?" he asked again. This time, she answered. "Because I like watching people leave." He frowned gently. "Why?" She stared outside. "Because it reminds me that nothing stays." There was a pause. Then Oliver said something simple. "I plan to stay." She turned to look at him properly for the first time. And in that moment, something shifted. Weeks later, during the college winter festival, fairy lights wrapped around trees in the courtyard. Music played softly. Snow began to fall, light, delicate flakes dancing in the air. Clara stood alone near the window, as usual, but this time, Oliver didn't sit beside her. He stood in front of her, holding a small sketchbook. He handed it to her. Inside were drawings of her, sitting by the window, laughing quietly, drinking coffee, watching the rain. "You see everything," he said softly. "But I see you." For the first time in years, Clara didn't look away. She stepped forward. And instead of sitting by the window, she stepped into the snow. With him. You see? Love doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it sits beside you quietly for weeks, bringing coffee, sharing silence, promising to stay. And sometimes, the girl who watches people leave finally finds someone who doesn't. And that was the story of the girl who sat by the window.